What's up, everybody? Johnny from All Around Boxing here. I'm here with Freddy Silva, also known as Fast Freddy. He's a cut man, trainer, and your boxing gym is B Street Boxing, and it's in San Mateo in San Francisco, correct?
That's right. We're a little bit south of San Mateo. Of San Francisco.
Yeah, so I just met you today or yesterday, and you are helping out Jose Marufo, and you've been helping out for a while, right? Be his cut man.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did that relationship even begin?
Well, it started I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago. He had a fight against Willie Shaw, who was undefeated at the time in San Mateo, and I was working a cut for another fighter. And the matchmaker, Eddie Rodriguez, who was the matchmaker for Jose, came up to me and said, "Hey, this guy from Phoenix is here. He doesn't have a cut man, and he's fighting Willie. Will you work his corner?" And I said, "Absolutely." So it was just him and Hot Rod, Coach Hot Rod, and I joined them in the ring. And it was a tough fight, but Jose, I think in the second or third round, got a bad cut over his right eye. And I worked it. The referee, Margado, was doing his best to check for Jose's safety, but I was able to stop it in round after round, and he ended up winning the decision in that. And I've worked every fight that he's had since, so I think this is our 6th fight together.
That's amazing. And you were telling me about that cut, man, how bad it was. And that's probably like the best work you've ever done, right? Because Marufo, I've been following his career since he started. He's always gotten cut. And he has those 2 cuts right here in his eyes because, they always keep on coming back. And for you for him to even have you in his corner for that many fights, like shows that you're doing a really good job, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you gotta know what you're doing. I've been doing this for about 12, 13 years now. It's definitely for a cut man, for the referee to come and tell you afterwards, "Hey, you won that fight for him." That's the hugest compliment you could ever get.
Yeah.
And you got to love what you do. The number one priority for me is the safety of my fighter. And for them to get that extra round. I mean, these guys work hard, beyond hard. Some people don't understand what it takes to train for one of these fights, whether it's 4 rounds or 12 rounds. So, their hopes and dreams, man, can be squashed by a bad cut. And so that's my job. That's my focus, is what can I do for this person to be successful in that next round? And if it means digging deep and, getting one of these giant things and sticking it in there, you got to do it. But you got to be calm. I'm really good in these kind of intense situations. But really, it's about knowing that you can do it. I mean, there's people who go out there who don't have a lot of experience. That's great. You got to learn somewhere, but you also got to know when to pass it along to someone maybe that has a little more.
Yeah, and how tough is Marufo, man? He's tough, son of a gun, man.
Dude.
And when he first started, man, it was like, man, he was just boom, knocking people out. And then, he's kind of had like a, went kind of downhill, because he didn't really manage his career right. But now he's kind of in an incline, right? And he's here fighting at PBC and probably one of the biggest fights in his life. Talk about Marufo, man. Like, he's freaking tough, man. Like, what do you love about him? I mean, I love everything about him, but what do you love about him?
Marufo is one of these guys that when I first met him was very humble and quiet and, "Hey, nice to meet you. Thank you." Very gentle. And the second he got in there, I go, "Oh, wow, this guy's for real." He's a rough fighter. He's a veteran. Like you said, he's had these peaks and valleys in his career, but he's like, "Let's go." And so I think that tells you a lot about his character. Wherever we go, whether it's Philly, LA, Texas, my hometown of San Mateo, he's just one of these guys that loves the sport. He loves to fight. He's not about the controversy. He just wants to get put in there, and he wants his opportunity. Like you were saying about this is his biggest opportunity on the biggest show he's ever done, and he deserves it. I mean, a guy like this,
Absolutely.
He's a father. He works. He has a lot going on. That says right there a lot about his character. So when I get the call, I'm happy. I'm happy to work with him and for him. So yeah, that's the kind of guy he is. And if you ever see him out there, go up and say hello. He absolutely loves it. I think the appreciation.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy too. I mean, he took this fight with like maybe 2 weeks notice. Maybe that's a little more, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I think it was maybe 8 or 9 days notice.
Yeah.
And man, he's here and he's facing Rashidi Ellis, man. A tough guy, but man, I believe in Marufo, man, and he's been working with his trainer. I forgot what's his trainer's name.
Hot Rod.
Yeah, Hot Rod. He's been working on Hot Rod, and Hot Rod, it's kind of a little bit remaking him. I mean, he's still tough, but he's becoming a little bit more technical and using he's not just throwing bunches and punches, he's throwing bunches and in bits, in short bits. So like Jose Marufo, I think he has like 20-something fights, right? 25 fights. Yeah, 25 fights, man. And we were talking about like the sport, right? And Marufo, man, he has every right to just walk away from the sport. But he keeps on doing it, man. And we were talking about people that are in the sport of boxing and just the type of character they have. And I think Marufo, man, he has that drive, man. He's such a hard worker. He doesn't have to fight, but he loves it. He sticks to it. And like I said, we were talking earlier, man, like this sport really brings out the best in people, and it shows you who you are in the ring. Mm-hmm. And Marufo, man, after boxing, I'm sure he's gonna be successful in whatever he does. So let's talk about you, man. Like, so how'd you become a cut man?
It was I work for Eddie Croft at B Street Boxing in San Mateo, mm-hmm. and a lot of boxing heads, they know who Eddie is. He was ranked third in the world in the '90s. He fought Eric Morales. He fought Marco Antonio Barrera. He fought some of the best fighters, and we're lucky enough to have him in San Mateo. And at the time, we had an up-and-coming flyweight female, Melissa McMorrow, who ended up being the WB world champion she defended, I think, 7 or 8 times. And Melissa had a fight at the Shark Tank where the San Jose Sharks play. And Eddie goes, "You're coming with me." He goes, "I'll pick you up and just come." And I was like, "What?" I never even worked an amateur fight. And this is back in 2010. And I went with him, and under the big lights and the smoke and all that. And ever since then, I've been working all of our gym's fights. And then people will call me here and there, and I'll work other fights. If I'm at a fight, like when we were in Philadelphia, I worked about 4 fights there, and then I've been called to different fights around Mexico. So it's gone from there. And also, I've worked for a few surgeons who give me some good pointers. I've asked questions when I'm out there just to improve my craft, and that's how it's done. So
So what keeps you in the sport of boxing, man? Because you're a cut man,
mm-hmm.
but you're continuously improving. Wanting to better yourself as a cut man to help these fighters. What's inside you that wants to do that?
Well, it's not about me, right? So it's about the fighter. It's about the fighter's safety. It's about that fighter who has worked really hard to achieve this dream. And if I can become a better cut man, that means the chances for them to get that next round that might change their lives or to finish the fight. I think also, I work with a lot of youth. Back in San Mateo, we are a nonprofit. And I want them to also see, maybe if they don't become boxers, that there's other things they can do to stay involved in the sport. Mm-hmm. Or in other words, stay in the gym. Yeah. That's been important to me too, is to be a presence for them. So for instance, the other day when I told everybody I was coming out to work a fight, I was telling a bunch of young people that maybe don't have, they don't play football or baseball for the high school. A lot of them don't have access to that. This is the sport they have. Boxing is, at least where we are, baseball and football are really expensive to play. It takes a lot of resources. And so we offer them an alternative, and it happens to be the greatest sport in the world. So to me, it's about that as well. So they'll say, "Oh, coach, you're gonna work that fight, and you're gonna travel a little bit." And some of these kids have never been on an airplane, and so there's so many little arms inside of boxing to me. I remember the first time I took my prospect, I got a guy, Christian Vasquez, and we're trying to get him a debut. And we worked really hard last year. We had 10 amateur fights. And I go, hey, we're going to Mexicali for an AIBA fight, for an international fight. And he looked at me like, oh, we're traveling? I'm an amateur. And I just wanted him experience. No, boxing's going to get us on a plane. We're going to rent a car. We're going to go to Mexico. We're going to be in a hotel for a few days. And it's those little steps that, because we're on the plane and he's going, I can't believe I'm on a plane for boxing.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just watching, going, get used to it, kid. Because where I want to take you, you're going to be flying a lot further than San Diego. Mm-hmm. And that's special, those moments where we can look back and I can say, hey, remember that time you were tripping out because we were on an airplane for a boxing tournament? That's the stuff, man. So
man.
It's beautiful. It's still, we still talk about it, him and I. So I think when I think about these moments that I've had and I continue to have, it does drive you to want to be better, right? But still stay focused on what's important, which is that fighter. So it could be a 15-year-old kid that is going to have his first amateur fight. What do I got to do to make him successful in that moment? It could be Eddie is out of town training somebody in Europe, which he has done. What do I got to do to make this gym still uphold our reputation as a top gym in the Bay Area? So I'm constantly trying to uplift every aspect of my boxing game. And then I still got a wife and kids, and I still got to pay the rent and go home and make dinner.
Exactly, man. I'm the same way too, man. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. I got a 3-month-old. So
congratulations.
Bad, but I feel bad. I'm over here and I'm not there, right?
Yeah.
But it's the sport. You sacrifice a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
You also sacrifice. You don't make that much money.
No.
I'm not making money doing this, right? I'm just putting on YouTube. As a cut man, you don't make that much money, but I think it's the passion. And it's the drive. And also, man, like what we're talking about, man, it's the fact that I think, I'm using boxing to kind of motivate the youth and just boxers in general, man, because the sport, it's personal, man. It's personal. And every fighter has a story, and every fighter's came somewhere. Because in order to become a fighter, man, you have to have that. I don't know what to call it.
That drive.
Yeah, that drive.
It's intangible.
Exactly.
It's an abstract. You can't describe it until you've been in a gym to feel it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I lost my dad at a very young age, and boxing was his passion. Being of Mexican descent, my father was born in Mexico, and boxing and soccer was everything to him. And so to me, I've always held on to it. So I was always followed the sport. I have friends that follow football and baseball. I was always the boxing guy. And, Eddie Croft in the early 90s, to have a local guy ranked, third, we used to go see his fights when they were local. And then to run into him, 15 years later and to have him ask me to come to his gym, that was a sign to me. And, but back to what you were saying about that thing, I think I use boxing as a metaphor a lot. I think it drives my wife crazy because I always say, well, think of it this way. If it was, the last round and we had to, whether we're driving to LA but it's always about, we got to work hard, or anything worth having comes from hard work. If it comes easy, then there's probably something wrong. And so there's a lot of metaphors that I think we can use, especially with the youth, when their grades aren't so good. I'll tell them, dude, you just went 5 rounds with somebody 5 pounds heavier than you with more experience, and you're telling me you can't study for this test? Now you're just BSing me because I know you can do it. If you can learn combinations, if you can learn audibles that I'm telling you when you're in the ring, and you're telling me you can't do this, So I use it as a metaphor for stuff like if they say I got detention because I was late. You're never late to boxing. You pay attention. You say yes, coach, no, coach. You ask me if you need to go to the bathroom, and if you're not doing that stuff in school, then you're BSing me. So there's a lot of metaphors for life, in there that I continue to use.
Yeah, no, and I liked how you show the kids, man, that they do have the ability to get somewhere in time because they're doing it in boxing. Do you get to school in time because you go to boxing in time. You can't get good grades. You can't listen because you listen to me. Like, that's all you're showing them, and it's really that simple what you're showing them. And I think when you get older, they're gonna really appreciate that about you, man. And I'm sure you're already some people's role models. So you should be really, really, man, happy and content with that, man. So let's talk about the fighters that you work with, man. Melissa Morrow, right?
Melissa McMorrow.
Melissa
Yeah.
McMorrow, man. You work. How long did you work with her?
So I was her strength and conditioning coach since I think 2010. So right around that time she fought. Again, I just being in the gym when Eddie opened, I learned from a lot of people, different strength and conditioning. I learned a lot of methods from Miriam Nakamoto, who was an 8-time WBC Muay Thai champion. Paul Brown, I worked a lot with Muay Thai, but the conditioning Muay Thai is brutal, and so just a lot of gym rat stuff, man, and reading, and also taking their methods and adding my twist to it. What can I do with this to involve the whole body or just to improve the left hook? What kind of fundamentals can I add to this kind of strength and conditioning thing? And Melissa, talk about a very coachable person that way. She never questioned much what I was doing. She had faith in what we were doing. No one worked harder, and she's another person I use as an example. I always tell the kids it's not rocket science. It's getting in here and working for 4 hours a day. That's all that girl did. She never said anything. She just worked her butt off. And great story about Melissa. She's a Carnegie Mellon educated architect. She helped build some of these big stations for Tesla that are popping up all over the country. She has a different job now, but that's a dangerous person. Someone that has a career like that, but still wants to do this.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous person. And if you get a chance to ever pull her up on YouTube and see her and Mariana La Barbie Juarez and Kika, she's fought all the top level. What's her name? I can't even think of them right now. But all the top level flyweights. I mean, went to Germany. She took the title from the German girl, which is very rare. Mm-hmm. That's where she won the title, and then defended it another 6 or 7 times. So boxing's, and Melissa and Eddie has taken me all over the place. First time I've ever been to Europe. I've been all over Mexico. But she was special, and she's one of these people that when you have them in the gym, I can simply point to her and go, that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, and, it's so unfortunate, like that women's boxing is barely starting to come to the fruition of in the limelight, right? Yeah. I don't know who Melissa McMorrow is, right? But I'm going to, research her and become a fan of her. Yeah. But I'm so glad that women's boxing is coming up and really gonna get it's getting more attention than it did in the past.
Right.
So, and it's cool that, you had the opportunity to be part of her corner, right?
Yeah.
And then it took you to Germany and stuff like that, man. It's just this sport, man. A lot of people, there's a lot of good people in this sport, and then this sport could take you a lot of places, a lot of places, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful sport to be in. So let's talk about also another reason why you're here, right? Is the main event, right? And you're not doing the cut man for him, or you're not being in any corner. But how do you see that fight coming up? Maceo versus Vargas.
It's a tough fight, man. I mean, I've watched Vargas for his career because I met him years ago with Don Nacho Beristain in Puebla. We were there for Melissa was fighting for the WBC title, and so I got to spend some time with Don Nacho and Vargas was there, and so I got a little tie to that, and I think he's a very underrated fighter. He's tough. I think this is the first time he's fighting at this weight class.
Vargas, yeah.
Yeah, so they both come up. I think Maxayo is defending his title for the first time, coming off a tough fight. This could go either way. But I think Vargas he's got a nasty reach. He's kind of rangy. They're both not afraid to mix it up. But I have to lean maybe a little to Vargas. Maxayo, I mean, with the last fight, I think the guy's hand was broken for half the fight, so I don't know at full speed how he's going to do with someone at this caliber, at this level with both hands. But Magsayo's a tough dude, man. He's pretty relentless. Got great coaching, One of our guys, I think, sparred him a few months ago, was down there with Eddie. So we've seen him, or Eddie has seen him. But I think, for me, I think I'm leaning a little towards Vargas, but it could easily go the other way. Vargas hasn't fought in a year? Has it been?
Yeah, that's what he said. He's found one time he's only found one time, but I think almost in a year.
There's another factor, right? We might be seeing a little rust on that side, but I know they spar really hard down there in Mexico City, man.
Yeah.
It's, they push them pretty hard. So it's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, Masayo, man, I've seen a couple of his fights, and man, he has that quick hook. He's quick, man, and he's powerful, and he's pretty relentless, when he throws those punches and combinations. Yeah. So I'm starting to realize too, from Marufo, Rasheed Ellis to Carlos Castro, or no, it's Frank Martin versus Jackson Marins. And then Castro versus Brandon Figueroa, and then the main event, right? Like, this is a good fight. This is a good card. Like, huge. From Marufo and Rasheed Ellis, that's gonna set the tone.
Well, it's gonna set the tone because no one knows, and a lot of people don't know who Marufo is. And that's the beauty of this, is he's a relatively unknown fighter. He's fought tough wherever they put him. 8-0 guys, 9-0 guys. There's a guy, Lukey, who does a podcast in the Bay Area. He calls him the undefeatinator or something like that. It's going to be tough. Ellis is a tough, fast guy. He's got a lot of great high-level amateur experience. He's got 23-0. It's going to be a challenge, but I think it's the perfect fight to set the tone, because when they see this Jose Marufo guy going in there, coming at you like a tank, I think people are going to get pretty pumped. And then Figueroa, who is also another great fighter. Lost a close one last time, and then the main event. There's another guy from Arizona, Castro. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good night. These are action-packed fights, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, from Marufo to the main event, it's going to be like, I'm just excited, man. It's happening in a couple hours.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna be fun.
My clock here.
Exactly. No, man. Well, I appreciate you, allowing me to come talk to you, man, and getting to know you, man. There's a lot of good people in the sport, and I'm glad that you're using this sport too to motivate people. I hope to do that too. As a kid maybe watching this and knowing that there's people that want to help them out too, and also be part of the sport too.
Exactly. I think that's my main thing too, that we were talking about earlier, is showing these kids that they can still be a part of the sport, and they don't, if their boxing dreams get pushed aside, or if it's not for them, we need them in the gym. I always let them know, I need you here, whether it's to help me teach the little kid class, or to hold mitts for somebody, or teach them how to hold mitts, or teach them how to be a strength and conditioning coach. I always tell them, when you go to college, being a personal trainer, because I always plant in their head they're going to go to college, is the perfect job. I appreciate you asking me to do this today. We're both involved in the sport, so we're the lucky ones, man.
Yeah, I'm lucky, man. But Freddy, man, thank you. I appreciate it, my man.
Thank you.
We'll obviously I have to go visit your gym over there in the Bay Area.
We'd love to have you.
I'm going to be in the corner with you. Marufo said I could be in the corner with you, so I'll be walking out. So I appreciate it, man.
And look out for Cristian El Kiki Vasquez. We're getting him ready for his debut. Look out, world, because we got some exciting stuff happening.
There we go. Here with Fast Freddy. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, brother.